Hi, I'm Victoria Lisi, and I teach drawing over at Ames Community College in Loveland. And in this section, I'm going to show you how to draw a cone. And I have a cone shape here. Cones are found sometimes in nature, but also they're artificial. And they're very similar to the cylinder, except that one end of the cone is much more narrow, and the other is much wider. So I'm going to do this very light at first because that's just how I draw. So you may not be able to see what I'm drawing. You may just have to follow my hand motions, because I always start light, and then once I feel that the lines are right, I move in and darken them. So again, as with the cylinder, I'm looking down at this. So the bottom here is rounder than the top. This is more of a narrow oval, and this is more in between, and this is the roundest. So I try to make sure I get these shapes correct before I darken them. So you may not quite be able to see what I'm doing yet, but in fact, I think I just realized I made a mistake there. So that's going to be the legs. So, and then I'm going to do the shadow, but I'm just going to get this all roughed in before I darken it. Okay. All right, so now the darkest part is the narrowest, and then there's a lip, and then it goes down fairly straight, and then it flares and makes a cone shape. And getting these two things symmetrical is rather difficult. That's because it has something to do with the different sides of your brain. I don't exactly know the reason, but it's difficult. Now this round shape is going to be rounder than this. If I made this like this, if I made it like that, it would look wrong. So it's rounder because I'm looking down. So you see how this round shape is more round than this. And the bottom is even rounder still, and it actually slants in slightly. I'm always correcting what I do as I go along. That's why I start out light, because I'll start to see little mistakes. Now this shape is even rounder than this one, so I want to be sure to do that. And then it has these little legs. And then there's just the shadow that is cast. And this shadow goes and it's a round shadow. And then I'm going to put these little star shapes in here. And this, because it's brass, it's got some interesting highlights, which I'm going to try to capture. And I think I'm going to just draw the highlight in that I see. And I see this highlight, and I want to keep this line very light. So I'm going to just sort of pencil it in softly, so that I remember to keep that white. And the lighting in here is a little confusing, so I'm going to ignore the other highlight. And then I'm just going to, again, as I did with the cone, I'm going to do some of the hatching that goes kind of with the shape. And with anything that's metallic, it's hard for you to see. I'm going to try to get my hand so you can see it better. It has a lot of dark and light contrast, so I'm going to try to keep that contrast. And then there's some shading here that's softer. And there's just a lot of contrast in anything metallic. So there are lights, and there are darks, and there are super darks. So that helps give it the shine that you want to convey. And again, this is hatching again. We did hatching in the last demo, or I did hatching in the last demo. We may do a little cross hatching too. And then we want to get these super dark. Wherever you put strong dark light contrast, that draws people's eyes. So you want to remember that. If you want your work to stand out, darks and lights that are prominent are good. But I want to keep some of these highlights in here. And at the top, where the shadows are skinnier, and then they flare out as you come down. They expand. So that's one way to deal with that. And so now I'm just going to put some dark shadows under here, but you're getting hopefully the sense that this is a sphere and that it's brass. And with the dark shadows, I can just go back over these and try to get a really dense dark. And I build up the darks a lot, going over and over them many times to get them nice and dark. And it's just drawing can be quite time-consuming. But you can just enjoy it and develop patience. And I'm going to go back and erase some. I really want these highlights to stand out, so I'm going to erase them. And one thing that you can do is you can also use your graphite stick and do some blending. And you can, even though it's been hatched, it just sort of will kind of help make it shinier looking. And you can almost use this blending stick like a pencil. So if you want to do really light shading, you can actually just use it alone if it's got a lot of graphite on it. And again, I'm trying to follow the curve even with the blending stick. I don't know if you can see how I'm doing that. And that just sort of gives you and then you can go in with here and you can get this really dense too. It's just starting to get a bit of a metallic look. And this is something that I could spend a long time on and get something fairly polished, but because this is just a demo, I'm not going to do that. So you get the idea. Again, you want to get these curves. In fact, I think looking at it, I'm thinking this curve is deeper than the other one. And that's wrong. So I'm going to flatten that a little bit. And this one needs to be the deepest one, the most circular. And then that needs to be a little on the flat side. You don't want to do this where you have it round here and then maybe curved slightly here and then flat on the bottom. That's, again, wrong. So I hope you enjoyed this and have fun with cones.